CreepyCorner stories.
There are places on the internet you're not supposed to find. Hidden forums, private streams, jobs that don't exist on any website. Tonight's stories comes from one of those places. What you're about to hear isn't a legend. It's not a creepypasta. It's something someone actually lived through. So turn off the lights, put on your headphones, and welcome to CreepyCorner Stories. Also, if you enjoy the stories, feel free to subscribe and leave a comment down below. It really helps this channel grow. And before we dive in, I want to say thank you to Lisa Cullen and Dark Impulse 85. We rented a caravan from the dark web. On the 5th night, I was the only one left inside it. Hello, everyone. So tonight, we will get into something deep. I've never posted anything like this before, and honestly, I didn't think I ever would. But it's been months, and I still can't sleep more than 2 hours a night without waking up sweating, gasping for air, like someone squeezing my lungs with ice-cold hands. So maybe if I get it all out, I'll feel like I can breathe again. This happened last summer. I'm 21, live in Colorado, and I was home from college with nothing to do except rot in my parents' basement and doom scroll Reddit, TikTok, and YouTube until my brain melted. My best friends, Nate and Jaden, were in the same boat. We'd been tight since middle school, played Xbox, made dumb YouTube skits, dared each other to do stupid stuff, like run naked through a Wendy's parking lot. Real degenerates, you know. Anyway, it was Jaden's idea. Of course it was. We were hanging in my garage one night, blasting music, half drunk off Modelo and watermelon vodka, when Jaden goes, "Bro, I found something insane." I looked over, and he had his MacBook open. The screen was dim, but I could see the browser. Not Chrome, not Safari, Tor, the dark web. Now I'm not an idiot. I know the dark web is mostly scams and garbage, and the rest of it is straight up illegal. But we were drunk, bored, and chasing that same high we used to get from sneaking into abandoned malls or doing the Ouija board in cemeteries. "Dude," Jaden said, grinning like an idiot, "we can rent a caravan." I raised an eyebrow. "A what?" He turned the laptop toward us. There was this janky black and red website with the name Shadow Stays in dripping font like it was made by a 2005 emo kid. Below that, unforgettable off-grid experiences, no IDs, no questions. Nate leaned in. "That's not a real site." "It's real," Jaden said. "Check this out." He scrolled down. Listings popped up like Airbnb. Photos of weird, busted-looking RVs and campers parked in random forests, deserts, even some abandoned amusement park in Pennsylvania. The one that caught our eye was titled The Wanderer. Location: undisclosed wilderness near Yellowstone. The photo showed an old silver Airstream trailer, half covered in moss, parked in a shadowy pine forest. Description was simple: no power, no reception, no contact. GPS coordinates will be sent after crypto payment is confirmed. 5 nights, no extensions. Whatever walks in, walks out changed. Now, we knew this was dumb. We knew it had to be fake. But the way Jaden talked about it, the way his eyes lit up like he was already halfway there, something in me clicked. "Split it 3 ways," he said. I already converted my part to Monero. "How much?" I asked. $900 total, Jaden grinned. 300 each. That's less than a round trip to Vegas. And you know, this is way crazier. I wish I could say I hesitated. I wish I could say I was the responsible one. But let's be honest, I was 2 drinks in, the idea sounded wild, and we hadn't done anything memorable in months. So yeah, I sent him the money that night. The next morning, the GPS coordinates hit his burner email. They weren't exactly in Yellowstone, more like a few hours north of it, close to some forgotten logging trail near the Montana border. We packed up our gear, phones, sleeping bags, a couple GoPros, snacks, and way too much Monster Energy, and hit the road. The place was impossible to find unless you had the coordinates. No cell signal. The forest was dense, trees tangled together like they were trying to hide something. The dirt path we drove on was so narrow it scraped the sides of Nate's Jeep. Then we saw it. Nestled between 2 gnarled pine trees, the silver airstream sat crooked like something had dropped it from the sky. It looked even worse than the photo. Windows smeared with dirt and mold. 1 tire flat. A weird smell. Not quite rot, but old, like wet wood and rusted pennies. Hit us as soon as we stepped out. But the weirdest thing? There was a sign nailed to a tree next to it. It was handmade, like someone had carved it with a knife into driftwood. All it said was, "You can leave the way you came, but you won't." We laughed it off. Jaden filmed it on his GoPro. He even made a fake YouTube intro like, "What's up guys? Welcome back to the dumbest trip of our lives, sponsored by Satan himself." We were just having fun. We thought this would make a killer story, maybe a viral TikTok series, if we played it right. We set up for the first night. No electricity, like the listing said, but the caravan had a tiny propane stove, a built-in bed, and a cooler. It was creepy, yeah, but we were 3 guys with flashlights, Bluetooth speakers, and 0 survival instincts. We thought we were in control. We weren't. That first night, we heard noises. It started with tapping, soft, like fingertips on aluminum. We figured it was animals, chipmunks or something. But then it came again, louder, more deliberate. Tap, tap-sa, tap. Pause. Tap-sa, 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 tap. It didn't sound random. It sounded like code. Nate got spooked. I told him it was wind. Jaden opened another White Claw and said, "Bro, we're not gonna get murdered in a damn trailer. Chill." We passed out around 2 a.m. I woke up around 3:17. I remember the time exactly because my phone was on airplane mode and the lock screen lit up when I checked it. No signal. But that's not what woke me. It was footsteps. Outside the trailer. Slow. Crunching the pine needles. Then, dragging. Like someone was pulling something heavy. I held my breath. The footsteps circled the trailer. Once. Twice. Then stopped right by the door. I didn't wake the others. I don't know why. Maybe I was frozen. Maybe I didn't want to be the one who made it real. Eventually, I passed out again. Fear does that to you. It crushes you until your brain shuts off to survive. The next morning, I stepped outside, shaking off the nightmare. But the ground around the trailer was disturbed. Not just footprints, tracks, drag marks. Something heavy had been pulled into the woods. Jaden laughed it off. Probably a bear. Nate didn't laugh. He looked pale. He said he heard whispering. I didn't tell him I'd heard it too. Right before I fell asleep again, just one word. Soft. Right in my ear. Stay. We should have left then, packed up and bounced. But we were young, dumb, and locked into this weird mix of fear and curiosity. We wanted to know. We needed to know what was really going on, and that's what kept us there. But by the 5th night, I was alone. We were supposed to document everything. GoPro strapped to the door. Nate had his drone for aerial shots. Jaden brought one of those little thermal cameras off Amazon. Not the pro kind, just a janky $80 one that clips to your phone. We thought we were going to capture foxes, or maybe a mountain lion, something to flex on YouTube, but nothing we caught was ever alive. Not in the way you think. Night 2 started with laughter. Us three, playing Uno on a flimsy fold-out table, speakers blasting Chief Keef in the middle of the pitch-black forest, like morons. Jaden kept making jokes about the forest demons watching us from the trees, kept saying we should leave out an offering. I swear to God, I thought he was joking. He took one of our Red Bulls, opened it, and placed it carefully on the trailer's front step, like he was feeding a stray cat. Then he whispered, "For the ones that walk," and laughed like it was a joke only he was in on. Nate told him to quit being weird. Jaden just winked at us and said, "You'll see." Later that night, the Red Bull was gone. No claw marks, no spill, not a drop left behind. Can, just gone. Jaden was hyped. "Told you," he said. "They're watching us." But Nate didn't like that. He was scrolling Twitter nonstop when we had signal earlier, reading all those threads about rituals and symbols in forest clearings. It got in his head. It got in all of ours eventually. Night 3, it got worse. We started hearing voices again, not whispering this time. Laughter, but it wasn't ours. It didn't echo right. It sounded wet, like someone gargling as they laughed. It circled the trailer around 3 a.m., never coming closer, never backing off, just pacing, giggling, dragging something that sounded like chain link and wet meat. Jaden, of course, ran out with the GoPro. That was the last time we saw him. He just didn't come back. We waited an hour, 2. I screamed his name into the woods until my voice cracked and my throat burned. The silence that followed was worse than any scream I'd ever heard. No owls, no wind, not even the bugs, like the forest itself was holding its breath. Nate and I debated calling for help, but there was no signal, and the trail to the road was too narrow for the Jeep unless you drove in reverse. And part of me thought, maybe he was just screwing with us. Jaden was like that, the kind of guy who'd vanish into the woods, record some Blair Witch style prank, then jump out screaming and get 1,000,000 views. But night fell, and he didn't come back. His GoPro did though. I heard it drop onto the trailer step just after midnight. Clean thud, like someone had gently placed it there. I opened the door, hands shaking, and there it was, covered in stuff. Not blood, not exactly. It was thicker, dark, sludgy, like oil and meat blended together and left out in the sun. Smelled like death and pennies. The lens was cracked. The SD card was gone. But something had been scratched into the back of the camera. Over and over and over. "You drank from their table." I went back inside and locked the door. Nate was crying. I didn't say anything. We should have left then. Should have grabbed the keys, reversed the Jeep, down that cursed logging road, and never looked back. But we didn't, because the tires were slashed, not stabbed, not punctured, torn, like something had chewed them. I'll never forget the look on Nate's face. Pale, blank, lips moving, but no sound coming out, like his brain had unplugged itself to protect him. We spent the entire next day trying to rig up a shelter outside. Stupid idea in retrospect. Nate said the trailer was too full of echoes. He started muttering that. Kept asking me if I could hear them breathing through the sinks. The sinks didn't even have plumbing. He wouldn't go inside, not even to eat. Sat in a camping chair under the trees, rocking back and forth, holding a hammer like it was a baby. That night, I tried to sleep. I think I managed maybe 20 minutes before the trailer shook. Not like someone bumped it, like something hit it. Full force. Then again. Boom, boom, boom. It was slow, rhythmic, like it had a purpose. I looked out the window, but everything beyond the glass was just wrong. Blacker than night, like the world had shut off. No stars, no moon, no trees, just black. Then I saw the smile. White, crooked, floating mid-air, right outside the window, like it didn't have a face, just teeth. It moved, twitched, tilted sideways, like a question mark, and then it slid away. Not walked, not ran, slid. I screamed. Nate didn't answer. I threw the door open and found him sitting in the same position under the tree, except now he was humming something. A weird melody, broken and offbeat, like a nursery rhyme put through a blender. There was something carved into the tree above him. Now you're the offering. I begged him to come inside. He wouldn't move. He looked up at me, eyes hollow, mouth twitching into that same sideways smile. He said, and I swear to God, these were his exact words, "They want to wear our skin so they can feel the wind again." Then he stood up, walked into the woods, barefoot, and didn't look back. I chased after him. 30 feet, 40, flashlight flickering. I heard twigs snapping, branches cracking, something big moving parallel to us through the trees. I yelled for Nate. Then the forest made a sound I've never heard before or since. Not an animal, not human. A chorus. It sounded like hundreds of voices, whispering at once, layered over each other, speaking backwards, and something dropped out of the trees, something wet. It hit the ground beside me with a sickening slap. I shined my light on it. It was a phone, Nate's phone, screen shattered, battery hanging out, still recording. I picked it up. There was video. I tapped it, just static, then flashes, trees, darkness, a face, not his face, my face, but wrong, smiling, twisted, blinking in reverse. I screamed and dropped the phone, ran back to the trailer, locked the door, and waited. The sun never came up. It's still night. My phone still says it's 4:09 a.m. It's been 4:09 a.m. for hours. There's something scraping under the trailer. I hear it breathing, slow, heavy, like lungs full of water. There's something knocking on the door every 30 minutes, like it's polite. There's something whispering my name from the drains, even though the trailer isn't connected to water, and I can't leave, because they left me lost, because the deal wasn't for 3, it was for 1, me. I can feel the caravan breathing now. It's alive. It's wearing me, from the inside out. Time stopped meaning anything after that. I don't know how long I stayed curled up on the caravan floor, with my back pressed against the cabinets, staring at the door like it might suddenly remember how to be normal and open into a parking lot instead of whatever this place was. My phone battery ticked down 1% at a time, but the clock never changed. Notifications wouldn't load, but they tried to. I kept getting the vibration without the message, like someone tapping my pocket from the inside. The knocking didn't stop. It didn't get louder either. Every 30 minutes, exactly, 3 slow knocks. Not aggressive, not desperate, like a reminder, like a landlord checking rent. I stopped answering after the second one. Not that I ever answered out loud. The first time, my brain betrayed me. I whispered, "Yeah?" before I could stop myself. The whisper echoed back at me from somewhere else inside the caravan. stretched and wrong, like it had been chewed and spit out. After that, I kept my mouth shut. That's when the walls started making noise. Not creaking, not settling. They moved. A soft, slick sound, like someone slowly peeling tape off skin. I pressed my ear to the aluminum and felt vibration underneath, faint but steady, like a pulse. The trailer wasn't breathing, like I said before. It was digesting. I don't know what made me open the cabinet under the sink. Maybe curiosity. Maybe my brain was already cracking and needed proof. I remember thinking, very calmly, if it's empty, I can pretend none of this is real. It wasn't empty. There was dirt inside. Fresh, damp dirt, piled neatly like someone had scooped it up with their hands. Sticking out of it was a strip of fabric. I recognized it instantly. Nate's hoodie. The gray one with the torn sleeve he always refused to throw away. It was folded, carefully, like someone respected it. I slammed the cabin shut so hard it rattled the whole trailer. The knocking came immediately after. 3 knocks. This time, something spoke. Not from outside, from behind me. "You're shaking too much," it said in my voice. "You'll tear." I spun around, heart trying to claw its way out of my chest. Nothing was there. Just the narrow hallway, the bed at the back, the small window that showed nothing but that endless black. But the smell had changed. It wasn't just metal and rot anymore. It smelled like me. Sweat, breath, that sharp human smell you only notice when you're too close to someone. I backed up until my calves hit the bed frame. That's when I noticed the mattress. It had an imprint, not like someone had lain there recently, like something had been pressed into it for a long time. The shape was wrong, too long, joints bent where joints shouldn't be. The sheet was pulled tight over it, like skin stretched over bone. Then the imprint shifted. I screamed. I didn't mean to, but the sound ripped out of me, raw and ugly. The mattress sank deeper, like whatever was under it was rolling over, getting comfortable. A shape pushed up against the fabric, a hand, I think, and dragged slowly across the surface, leaving grooves behind. I ran. There was nowhere to go, but I ran anyway. Slammed myself into the bathroom, locked the flimsy latch, collapsed against the door like that would matter. The mirror above the sink was fogged, even though it was cold inside. Words began to appear in the condensation, not written, pressed, like someone was breathing against the glass from the other side. "You fit better than the others." The lights flickered. Wait, no. There were no lights. The glow came from the walls themselves, a dull, sickly yellow, pulsing in time with that heartbeat I'd felt earlier. I looked down at my arms and saw the same color crawling under my skin, like veins filled with fireflies. That's when the memories started bleeding. Not mine. I saw flashes, hands gripping the steering wheel of the Jeep, but the hands weren't Nate's or Jaden's. There were too many fingers. I saw a Starbucks bathroom mirror, somewhere off the interstate, smeared with writing that said, "We made it out," in a shaking hand. I saw a McDonald's parking lot at night, empty except for a single car idling with the door open and no one inside. I saw a man filming himself on his phone, laughing too hard, saying, "Bro, this is gonna blow up on TikTok," before something reached out from behind the camera and turned it off. Each image came with a feeling, hunger mostly, not for food, for experience, for texture, for warmth. The thing inside the caravan didn't want to kill me. It wanted to learn me. The bathroom door bowed inward, slowly. like something was leaning on it, testing its strength. The latch creaked. A thin line of darkness appeared along the edge of the door, and something pressed into it, creating a bulge at eye level. A face, not a full one, just the suggestion. Skin pulled too tight, mouth stretched into that familiar sideways smile. My smile. You don't have to hide, it said softly. We've already been inside you. The door gave way with a crack, wood splintering. I scrambled past it, cutting my arm on something sharp, not even feeling it. The main door of the caravan was open now, wide open. Outside, the forest was different. The trees leaned inward, their branches tangled together overhead like a ribcage. The ground wasn't dirt anymore. It felt spongy, uneven, like stepping on soaked carpet. In the distance, I could see shapes moving. Tall, thin silhouettes gliding between the trunks, their heads tilted at unnatural angles. They were watching, waiting. I ran anyway. Every step felt wrong, like the ground was trying to pull my shoes off. I heard voices calling out, not shouting, just talking, casual, like friends trying to get my attention in a crowded mall. Jaden's laugh echoed somewhere to my left. Nate's voice whispered my name from behind. I didn't turn around. I burst into a clearing and froze. In the center stood another caravan. Same model, same color, but newer, cleaner. The door was open, warm light spilling out onto the ground. Inside, I could see a couch, a table, a phone charging on the counter. On the wall was a corkboard covered in photos. Photos of me, at school, at the gym, sitting in my parents' basement, sleeping. A sign hung above the doorway, carved into wood just like the first one. This one's ready. Something touched my shoulder. I don't remember falling. I remember waking up back inside the original caravan, curled on the floor where I'd started. My phone buzzed in my hand. A notification finally loaded. A new email from Shadow Stays. Subject line, hope you're enjoying your stay. Message body was short. Checkout is tomorrow. Please make sure the unit is clean for the next guests. Personal items may be left behind. You will not be. The knocking started again. 3 slow knocks. This time, they were coming from inside my chest. The email didn't disappear after I read it. It stayed on my screen, burning into my eyes like an afterimage. I closed the app, opened it again. Still there. No sender address, no reply option. Just that stupid, friendly tone, like this was a motel off Route 66, and not a place that had eaten my friends and started learning my breathing patterns. My phone vibrated again. Not a notification this time. A timer. 24 hours. Counting down. I laughed. I didn't mean to, but it came out anyway. Dry, cracked, wrong. The sound bounced off the walls and came back thinner, stretched, like it had been pulled through teeth. I realized then that the caravan was quieter than it should have been. No knocking, no scraping, no whispering. That scared me more than anything so far. Silence meant preparation. I stood up slowly, my legs screaming in protest, pins and needles stabbing my feet like punishment for still being attached to me. The floor felt warmer than before. Not cozy warm, fever warm, like the inside of a mouth. Every step left a faint print that faded after a few seconds, as if the surface was trying to remember me. I checked the door. It opened easily. Outside, the forest had rearranged itself. The trees were closer now, crowded in tight, their trunks bent inward like they were eavesdropping. The sky wasn't black anymore. It was a deep, bruised purple, pulsing faintly. like something massive was breathing behind it. The air tasted metallic, thick enough that each breath felt like swallowing fog. I took 3 steps out of the caravan. Behind me, the door closed on its own. Not slammed, not dramatic, just finished. I spun around and grabbed the handle. It didn't budge. The metal felt soft under my palm, like pressing into muscle. I yanked my hand back, gagging. The handle twitched. "Not yet," the caravan said, in a voice that had finally stopped pretending to be mine. It wasn't deep. It wasn't loud. It was calm, patient, like a teacher correcting a student. "Cleanup comes first." Something dropped at my feet. A trash bag, black plastic, tied neatly at the top. I stared at it for a long time before touching it. I already knew what was inside. My hands were shaking so hard, the bag crinkled like it was laughing at me when I finally picked it up. Inside were items, not pieces, not that. Items. Jaden's sneakers, still muddy from the first hike. Nate's watch, the cracked one he refused to replace. A GoPro battery. A wallet with the cash still inside, damp and warped. Things that mattered only because they had mattered to someone. There was a note at the bottom of the bag, handwritten, my handwriting. These attract the wrong attention. The timer on my phone ticked down to 23, 17, 42. I understood then. This wasn't about survival. It was about compliance. I spent hours, maybe days, maybe minutes, doing what the place wanted, dragging the bag through the trees to a spot that felt right, even though I'd never seen it before. Digging with my hands because no tools appeared. The ground peeled away easily, like it was eager. When I dropped the items in, the forest sighed, literally sighed. Leaves shuddered, branches relaxed. Something brushed my ankle in the dirt. I didn't look. When I finished, the hole filled itself back in. No mound, no trace, just forest. The timer skipped ahead. 19:03:11. Reward for good behavior. When I turned back, the caravan door was open again. Inside, it was different, cleaner, brighter. The smell was gone, replaced with something neutral and artificial, like hotel soap. The mattress no longer bulged. The walls were smooth. The yellow glow was gone. It almost looked normal. Almost. On the table sat a tablet I hadn't seen before. Screen on, playing a video. Me, filmed from behind, standing at the edge of the clearing, watching the caravan. I dropped the bag and stumbled back inside, slamming the door shut behind me. The video paused automatically. Text appeared over the frozen image. Training footage. Final stage. I didn't want to touch it. I touched it anyway. The video resumed. The version of me on screen turned around slowly, face blank, eyes unfocused, like a mannequin that had learned how to blink. He walked toward the camera, sat down where I was now sitting, and looked directly into the lens. "I get it now," he said. "It's not evil. It's hungry." The screen split. On the right side, I saw places, ordinary places, a McDonald's drive-thru at night, glowing yellow against the dark, a Starbucks on a rainy morning, people scrolling on their phones, headphones in, unaware, a crowded subway platform, somewhere overseas, the name blurred but familiar. On the left side, I saw the caravan, waiting. Words appeared under the images. Distribution model. The explanation flooded my head without being spoken. I understood it the way you understand pain, immediately and without choice. The caravan didn't stay in one place. It moved through people, through stories, through curiosity, through clicks and shares, and bro, you won't believe this. The dark web listing wasn't bait for criminals. It was bait for us. People who wanted to look behind the curtain but still believed they were safe. People like me. The screen changed again. A new listing loaded. Different title, different photo, same description, but under current host, there was a blinking cursor. Waiting. My hands moved on their own. Typed. My name. The timer on my phone hit 01:00:00. The Caravan hummed, satisfied. Something slid into place behind my eyes. Not pain, not pressure, relief. Like setting down a weight you didn't realize you've been carrying your whole life. I could feel it mapping me. My habits, my voice, my reactions. Testing how I smiled, how I breathed when I slept. Outside, I heard an engine, a jeep, voices, laughter, a camera shutter, new guests. I stood up and smoothed my shirt without thinking. Checked my reflection in the window. My smile looked right, friendly, excited, normal. The door opened easily when I reached for it. Hey, I practiced, my voice steady. You guys made it. The timer hit 0. Behind me, something else woke up. I don't remember their names. That's the part that still scares me when I think about it later, when I try to think like a normal person again. There were 3 of them this time. Always 3, I realized. 2 guys and a girl. Early 20s. Phones already out, filming the trees, laughing too loudly, like the forest was just a backdrop and not a mouth. They looked at me like I was part of the experience, like I was the host, which I guess I was. I waved. My arm moved smoothly, naturally, like it had done this before. The smile stayed on my face without effort. My heart didn't race. My hands didn't shake. That panic, that constant screaming alarm inside my head, it was gone, replaced with something calm and cold and useful. Long drive? I asked. My voice sounded right, friendly, a little tired, relatable. They nodded, already trusting me. One of them joked about how creepy the place looked, asked if this was really the right spot. I laughed and said yeah. The listing mentioned it was off-grid aesthetic. I watched the words land, watched them relax. The Caravan behind me looked perfect in the fading light, cleaner than it ever had, inviting. The door opened just enough to suggest warmth inside. I caught my reflection in the curved metal. Same face, same eyes, but there was a stillness to me now, like a photo that had learned how to talk. They stepped closer. The moment the last one crossed the invisible line around the clearing, the forest reacted. Not dramatically, just a subtle tightening, like a jaw clenching. None of them noticed. We went inside. I explained the rules the way they'd been explained to me, but softer, nicer. No mention of danger, just don't wander too far. Signal's bad out here. The nights get weird, but you'll get used to it. I watched their faces as I spoke, noted which words made their pupils widen, which ones made them smile nervously. Data. I felt something behind my eyes again. Not pressure, not pain, more like approval. Like a hand resting on my shoulder, staring. That first night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the small table, phone plugged into an outlet that hadn't existed before, scrolling through social media, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit. I searched for stories like mine, found dozens, hundreds, buried under jokes, skepticism, comments calling them fake or attention-seeking. I downvoted the ones that got too close. Around 3 a.m., the knocking started. I didn't flinch. The girl woke up first. I could hear her breathing change, sharp and fast. One of the guys muttered something in his sleep. The knocking continued, gentle and patient. I stood and went to the door before anyone else could. Opened it just enough to let the night air in. Nothing was there, but I felt it, waiting, listening. Soon, I whispered. The knocking stopped. By morning, one of them was gone. I helped the others look, played my part perfectly, concerned, confused, scared with them. We found a phone near the tree line. A shoe. No blood, no struggle, just absence. That's how it prefers it. Messy things attract attention. They cried, they argued, they talked about leaving. The caravan disagreed. By the third night, they weren't themselves anymore. Sleep deprived, paranoid, jumping at every sound. The walls had started to hum again, low and soothing, like a lullaby just under the threshold of hearing. I watched them react to it, watched how it slid into their thoughts, softened the edges. I corrected them when they said things that weren't true. No, you didn't hear that. That didn't happen. You're just tired. Gaslighting comes naturally when you don't feel guilt. The second one disappeared quietly. No panic this time. Just a chair left empty, still warm. The remaining guy stared at it for a long time, like his brain was refusing to finish the equation. That night, he asked me if I thought this place was wrong. I looked at him and almost told the truth. Almost. Instead, I said, "It's just a place. People bring their own problems with them." He nodded, relieved, thanked me, said he was glad I was there. I stayed up after he went to sleep and updated the listing. New photos, better lighting, more mysterious wording. I used phrases I knew would work. Unforgettable, exclusive, not for everyone. The algorithm liked it. The final guest didn't scream when it happened. He just stopped being there, like a tab closing in a browser. The caravan shuddered once, satisfied, and then went still. Morning came. A real one this time. Sunlight filtered through the trees. Birds chirped. The world put its mask back on. I stepped outside alone and breathed deeply. The air tasted normal. The clearing looked ordinary. If you didn't know, you'd never know. My phone buzzed. A message from Shadow Stays. "Thank you for your cooperation. Your hosting period has been extended. Please remain available." I deleted it. Not because I was free, because I didn't need it anymore. Weeks later, I'm back home. Classes resumed. Friends ask about the trip. I tell them it fell through, laugh it off. I post old photos, normal ones. I blend back in easily, too easily. Sometimes when I'm alone, I feel the hum again, faint, patient, like a reminder buzzing under my skin. I still check the listing. It's always there. Different photos, different location, same description. And every time it updates, I feel a little lighter, like something else is carrying the weight now. If you're reading this and thinking about trying it, about seeing what's really out there, don't worry. You won't be the first. You won't be the last. And if the listing looks especially welcoming, that probably means I'm nearby, watching, waiting, making sure the place stays clean. You want to know what happened in that caravan. You want the truth, the uncut, undigested, full-bodied, bone-splitting truth. Then sit back, but don't get too comfortable, 'cause this ain't a ghost story. This was a transaction. 3 boys rented a dream they found in a shadow. An anonymous listing. No location, no name. Just coordinates whispered through the cracks in the internet's teeth. They were thrill seekers, dopamine chasers, plugged into pixels and fame and that itching curiosity that turns humans inside out. And the caravan? It wasn't a place. It was a mouth. A machine built out of memory and skin and mirrors that reflect too much. They stepped in, laughing. Night 1. Just odd sounds. Night 2. Eyes blinking from behind the walls. Something smiling from the mattress. Something hungry in the whisper between heartbeats. Jaden vanished first. Left behind only a GoPro crusted in something not quite blood, and a message clawed into the plastic. You drank from their table. The forest closed in. The stars blinked out. Reality hiccuped. Then Nate walked into the trees barefoot, muttering lullabies in reverse, saying, "They want to wear our skin so they can feel the wind again." By night 5, only one was left, but he wasn't alone. No, the caravan had opened him like a letter, learned his voice, rewrote his thoughts, used his bones like marionette strings, made him a host. And when 3 more strangers pulled up, laughing just like the last ones, he smiled. He welcomed them in. I took a dark web job and agreed to watch a remote lightning house for one weekend, even though it was never meant to be staffed again. Okay, so this story happened to me a few months ago, and even now, when I think about it, I get chills, like real physical chills. I haven't posted on r/nosleep before, and honestly, I don't know if I ever will again after this. This story isn't made to go viral. I'm writing this because I need to get it out before I lose my mind. Anyway, I'm 22, live in Connecticut, and back then I had just dropped out of college. Not for some dramatic reason or anything. It just wasn't for me. I was broke, depressed, and spending way too much time online, mostly lurking on Discord servers and scrolling through TikTok until my eyes burned. You know, normal post-Gen Z burnout. It started one night when I was messing around on the deeper parts of Reddit, like those sketchy threads where people share links that are definitely not allowed on most platforms. I stumbled across a thread titled, "Wanna earn $2,000 to do absolutely nothing. Remote job. No experience needed." Yeah, sketchy as hell. But I was desperate. Rent was due. Car was on E. The job was simple, apparently. Watch over a private lighthouse on the coast of Maine for 48 hours. No guests, no interaction. Just make sure nothing unexpected happens. They even had this minimalistic website with only a black screen and a single question. Do you agree to be watched while you watch? Kinda artsy, weird horror movie type vibe. I clicked yes, obviously. I thought it was some ARG or viral prank, but nope. I got an email almost instantly. You've been selected. Further instructions will follow. Prepare accordingly. No sender at viewpointwatchers.net. That was the first time I noticed something really off. I tried replying, asking for more info, and Gmail hit me with address not found. But 10 minutes later, I got a text from a number labeled unknown saying, "Car picks you up Friday. Bring clothes, flashlight, power bank. No weapons. No. Hello. No. Are you still interested?" Just pure command. Now here's where it gets weird, and I'm not just saying that to hype it up. I tried Googling the name of the lighthouse. The coordinates were in the email. 44.2955 degrees north, 68.3250 degrees west. I looked them up and found this broken wiki page for a place called Harrow's Point Light Station. Apparently decommissioned in 1997 after a string of unexplained staffing incidents. The page was locked for editing. A single photo existed of the structure, black and white, grainy, and weirdly tilted, like whoever took it was running. I won't lie, I was getting creeped out. But again, $2,000 for 2 days of nothing. I figured if it was fake, I'd just lose a weekend. But if it wasn't, Friday afternoon came, and sure enough, a car pulled up. It wasn't an Uber, not even close. This was a pitch-black 2013 Chevy Tahoe, completely tinted. The driver didn't say a word when I got in. No music. Just this faint smell of sea salt and something sharp, like old copper pennies. The only thing he said the entire 3-hour ride was, "Don't touch the lantern." Not the light, or the lighthouse lamp. He said lantern, like it was a living thing, or something ancient. We arrived near sundown. I'll never forget the way the sky looked. That weird purplish dusk you only get in New England winters. The lighthouse stood alone on this jagged stretch of coast. No houses for miles. Just rocks, water, and gulls circling way too high, like they were avoiding something. I swear they weren't making any noise. The driver handed me a key ring with a tag that said, "No door is ever fully locked," and a heavy old-fashioned flashlight. Then he left. Just like that. Inside, the lighthouse looked like it had been abandoned for decades. Peeling paint, moldy furniture, this horrible smell like rotting wood and bleach. But everything worked. Power, running water, even Wi-Fi, though it only connected to this weird internal network called Harrow's Net. No Google, no Twitter, just one message board titled Watcher's Log. I clicked through some of the logs. They were all from different people, different years, some from the 2000s, others dated as far back as 1978, all with the same format. Hour 1, everything seems fine. Hour 7, I heard tapping from the stairwell. Hour 13, the lantern is humming again. I'm not touching it. Hour 19, something knocked. I prayed it wasn't the same as last night. Hour 22, the water tastes like metal, like blood. I thought it was all part of the vibe, like an immersive horror game. I laughed, shut my laptop, and decided to crash early. But then came 3:17 a.m. I woke up freezing, like ice in my lungs freezing. My phone was at 1%, even though I'd plugged it in. I checked the charger. It was melted. Not just burned. Melted. The plastic had bubbled like someone left it on a stovetop. And then I heard it. Tapping. Slow. Deliberate. Coming from the base of the lighthouse stairs. Not from outside. From inside. Tap. 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 I grabbed the flashlight and aimed it down the stairwell. Nothing. Just dust, an old boot, and some peeling wallpaper that looked like it had claw marks under the paint. Then my phone pinged. I almost dropped it. A new message from the Harrow's Net logboard. Don't go downstairs during the 3rd hour. It's when the sea tries to come in. I didn't type that. No one else was here. I closed the app. The tapping stopped, but I swear I could hear something breathing. Not human. Something too wet sounding, like a body dragging seaweed. I'll stop here for now. That was just night 1. There's a lot I haven't even touched yet. Like the 2nd floor, the red door, the thing in the mirror, and the log from 1997 labeled The Last Watcher. Let me just say this. I wish to hell I never clicked. Yes, I didn't sleep after that. I sat on the narrow bed with my back against the wall, flashlight clenched so hard my hand went numb, staring at the door like it might blink. The lighthouse made noises that buildings shouldn't make, not creaks or settling. This was movement, slow pressure shifts, like something heavy adjusting its weight. At exactly 4 a.m., The humming started. Not loud. Worse than that. It was low, steady, patient. It came from above me, from the lantern room. It wasn't mechanical. I've been around generators, fans, old AC units. This was rhythmic, almost satisfied, like something breathing through glass. I checked the internal network again. The watch's log had updated itself. Hour 5. If you hear the hum before sunrise, it knows your name now. I slammed the laptop shut so hard, it cracked the corner of the screen. That's when I noticed the smell. The lighthouse already smelled bad. Damp wood, salt, old metal. But this was new. Sweet and rotten at the same time. Like when you walk past a McDonald's dumpster in August and someone's thrown out raw meat. It was strongest near the stairwell. I told myself not to go down there. The message warned me. Common sense warned me. But curiosity is a sickness. And once it gets in you, it doesn't leave. I aimed the flashlight down the spiral stairs. The beam caught something I hadn't seen before. Handprints. They were smeared along the wall, overlapping, some high, some low, like whoever made them had been dragged. The color was dark brown, almost black, not fresh, old, flaked. I didn't need to taste it to know what it was. Halfway down, I saw the door. I swear to God, that door was not there earlier. It was painted red, not faded, not peeling, fresh, glossy, like someone had just rolled it on an hour ago. No handle, just a small metal plaque screwed into the center. Do not acknowledge what knocks. Behind me, something thudded. I spun around so fast, the flashlight beam jumped, and for a split second, I saw a shape at the top of the stairs. Tall, wrong, bent where it shouldn't bend. Then it was gone. My phone buzzed in my pocket. No signal, no Wi-Fi, but a notification still came through. Instagram, from an account with no profile picture, no followers, no posts. At Harrow's Point Watcher liked your story. I hadn't posted anything. I opened the message request. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped the phone once and had to crouch to grab it. The message was a photo. It was me, not a mirror selfie, not a reflection. It was taken from the stairwell, looking up at the second floor landing. I was standing exactly where I was now. The timestamp said 2 minutes ago. I heard the knock then. 3 slow taps from the red door. I backed up until my shoulders hit the wall. My breathing was loud in my ears, too loud, and I remembered the warning. Don't acknowledge it. The knock came again, harder. Then a voice. It sounded like a man trying to remember how talking worked. Watcher, it said. You're late. I squeezed my eyes shut. The voice continued, calm, conversational. Do you know why they stopped staffing this place? Another knock. The door rattled in its frame. They kept answering questions. Something scraped on the other side. Long, slow, like fingernails being dragged across wood. The lighthouse lights flickered. The humming above grew louder, almost excited. The voice dropped to a whisper. We don't like being ignored. The red door handle, which hadn't existed before, appeared. It turned. I ran. I don't remember going up the stairs, only that suddenly I was in the lantern room, heart trying to punch its way out of my chest. The glass walls were fogged from the inside, coated in streaks, like someone had pressed their face against it, over and over. The lantern sat in the center. It wasn't a bulb. It was a glass chamber, filled with something dark and slow-moving. Shapes drifted inside it, pressing outward when I got close. Faces, too many to count, all screaming silently, mouths stretched wide, eyes rolled back like they were drowning. A plaque at the base read, "Property of the Coastal Surveillance. Initiative. Active signal beacon. Do not disable." My phone buzzed again. Another message. Hour 6. If you reach the lantern, it's already seen your worst memory. The lantern flared, and suddenly I wasn't there anymore. I was 8 years old, hiding under a table while my parents screamed at each other. I was 17, watching an ambulance drive away without my neighbor. I was 20, alone in my car at a Walmart parking lot at 3 a.m., realizing no one would notice if I disappeared. Every moment I'd ever tried to forget played at once, overlapping, louder and louder, until I dropped to my knees, screaming. The lantern dimmed. Satisfied. When I came back to myself, the sun was rising. I thought it was over. I thought I'd made it through the night. Then I checked the log one last time. A new entry had been added. Hour 7. The watcher believes they survived. We will correct that tonight. And below it, a name. Mine. I didn't eat that day. I didn't drink. I just sat there, counting hours, watching the ocean slam against the rocks like it was trying to climb its way up to me. Because night 2 hadn't even started yet. And something tells me it never planned on letting me leave. Daylight didn't make the lighthouse safer. It just made it honest. Sunlight crawled through the fog like it was afraid of touching the place. And for the first time, I could really see where I was trapped. The walls weren't just old. They were repaired. Over and over again. Patches on top of patches. Different paint layers. Different years. Someone had kept this place alive long after it should have been left to rot. And someone had kept records. I found them behind a loose panel in the second floor wall. Not a secret room. More like a wound someone tried to cover with wallpaper and gave up halfway through. Inside were dozens of notebooks, stacked sloppily, swollen with moisture. Different handwriting, different languages. Some pages were stuck together like they'd been soaked. These weren't logs like the ones on the network. These were confessions. One notebook started mid-sentence, like the writer didn't have time for introductions. I was told it was a wildlife monitoring job. That lie should have been enough. Another had drawings instead of words. Stick figures standing at the base of the lighthouse. Always 5 of them, always staring up. One page showed the lantern beam cutting across the ocean, except the light wasn't white. It was dark, like it erased whatever it touched. The worst one belonged to a woman named Maribel. Her handwriting was neat at first, careful, like she was afraid of making mistakes. By the end, it was just scratches. She wrote about hearing children laughing from the rocks below, about voices pretending to be her sister, about something that asked her questions only she could answer, her mother's maiden name, the smell of her childhood home, the song she listened to when she wanted to disappear. Then the last entry. It doesn't want the light to be watched. It wants the watcher to be seen. I dropped the notebook when something slammed into the lighthouse from the outside. The whole structure shuddered. Once, twice, then again, harder. I ran to the window. The ocean wasn't right. The waves weren't crashing randomly anymore. They were hitting the rocks in rhythm, like a signal, like knocking. And standing just offshore, half submerged, were shapes in the water. Not fully human, not fully anything. They didn't move, didn't blink, just waited. My phone vibrated again. TikTok this time. A video from a creator I didn't follow. Low views, no comments. The thumbnail made my stomach drop. It was the lighthouse, from above. Drone footage. The caption read, "Abandoned places hit different at night." I watched it. The drone circled the lighthouse slowly, the sun low in the sky. Everything looked normal, peaceful even, until the camera zoomed in on the lantern room. On me, standing at the window. The video ended with a single line of text. "Smile. You're doing great." I threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall and shattered, but the screen stayed on, spiderwebbed and glowing, playing the video again. That's when I heard the footsteps. Not below me. Above. That shouldn't have been possible. The lighthouse didn't have another level past the lantern room. Yet something was walking there anyway. Slow. Heavy. Each step deliberate, like it wanted me to know how close it was. Dust drifted down from the ceiling with every footfall, landing on my shoulders, my hair, my hands. The internal network pinged. One last message loaded on the broken laptop screen. Hour 14. It will test you now. If you fail, you stay. If you pass, you leave, changed. A door opened behind me. Not the red one. This one was metal, rusted, hidden behind a bookshelf I swear hadn't been there before. It led down, not up. The air pouring out of it was cold and damp, smelling like seawater and decay. I didn't want to go in. I knew that was the point. The footsteps stopped. Silence swallowed the lighthouse whole. Then a voice, not from the walls, not from the door, but from inside my head, spoke with awful clarity. "Show us how far you'll go to be free." I went down. The stairs spiraled deeper than the lighthouse should have allowed. No light reached the bottom. The flashlight flickered like it was being suffocated. The walls were carved with names, hundreds of them, scratched deep enough to bleed rust. At the bottom was a room, concrete, flooded ankle deep with freezing water, and in the center, a chair. Strapped into it was a man, alive, barely. His eyes snapped open when he saw me, and he started sobbing so hard his whole body shook. His mouth was taped shut, but the sound still came out, wet and desperate. A speaker crackled to life overhead. This one tried to leave early. The lantern light bled through cracks in the ceiling, pulsing faintly. "You can take his place," the voice continued, almost kind. "Or you can finish what he couldn't." A knife lay on a table beside the chair. Clean, sharp, waiting. I stood there for what felt like hours, my heart hammering, my mind splitting in two. I don't want to describe what happened next. Not because I'm protecting you, because I'm protecting myself. All I'll say is this. When I walked back up those stairs, alone, the lighthouse was quiet. The ocean had calmed. The lantern dimmed. And somewhere, deep inside me, something clicked into place that I don't think will ever unclick. The driver came back at sunrise. Didn't ask questions. Just handed me an envelope with the money and said one thing before driving off. "They usually don't let you leave with your eyes open. I thought it was over. I was wrong, because when I got home, something followed me, and it still watches me type this, and starts being a warning. Home didn't feel real. That's the first thing I noticed when the Tahoe dropped me off and disappeared down the street like it had never existed. My apartment building looked the same. Cracked sidewalk, busted mailbox, the flickering hallway light that management swore they'd fix. But everything felt thin, like a movie set built around me, while the real world waited somewhere else. I unlocked my door and froze. The smell hit first. Salt, damp wood, old metal. I stood there, with the key still in the lock, heart pounding, convincing myself it was left over in my clothes, stuck in my hair, in my lungs. Trauma does that, right? You bring places home with you. Inside, nothing looked disturbed. Couch untouched. Shoes where I left them. Starbucks cup still on the counter from before I left. Mold creeping up the inside like a time marker. I shut the door. The sound echoed wrong. Too long. Like the room was bigger than it should be. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the couch, scrolling through social media, trying to ground myself in normal noise. Twitter arguments, Instagram reels, a YouTube video from one of those animated horror channels, autoplayed, some generic story about a guy seeing faces in his ceiling. I laughed, loud, almost hysterical. Then the video glitched. The animation stuttered, frames tearing, audio warping into that slow, underwater distortion. The narrator's voice dropped half an octave. And that's when he realized the house wasn't empty. The animation froze on a lighthouse. Not a lighthouse. Mine. The video cut to black. My TV turned off by itself. That's when I noticed the reflection. Not on the screen, on the window behind it. The glass showed my living room, dimly lit by streetlights, and standing behind the couch. Someone else. Tall. Still. Head tilted like it was studying me. I spun around. Nothing. I didn't look back at the window. I knew better. The next morning, my phone was full of notifications. Missed calls from numbers that didn't exist anymore when I tried calling back. Emails with no subject lines, no sender names, just blank bodies that left my inbox time-stamped at hours I was asleep. One message stood out. A DM on Reddit from an account created that day. You/still-watching-light. Did they make you choose to? I blocked the account, reported it, deleted the app. An hour later, my building manager knocked on my door. He looked shaken. "Hey," he said, eyes flicking past me into the apartment. "Just wanted to check in. Someone reported a light coming from your place last night. From the window. Real bright." I told him it was my TV. He nodded, but his face said he didn't believe me. After he left, I checked the window. Curtains were closed. They had been all night. Things escalated fast after that. People started acting like they recognized me when they didn't. A cashier at McDonald's stared too long before saying, "Rough weekend?" like it was a joke we shared. A guy at a bus stop asked me if the ocean was cold this time of year. The worst was the photos. I'd open Instagram and see location-tagged posts from places I hadn't been. Times Square, Shibuya Crossing, Piccadilly Circus, all with blurry night shots, where, if you zoomed in enough, there was a faint vertical beam of light cutting through the dark. Always the same angle, always the same color, always tagged with one word, #watching. I stopped leaving my apartment. That's when the knocking started. Not at the door, from inside the walls, slow, patient, moving. The sound traveled from room to room, like something pacing, learning the layout. I pressed my ear to the drywall and heard breathing on the other side. Wet, familiar. The internal network came back that night. My laptop turned on by itself, screen glowing in the dark. The watcher's log loaded without internet. A new section had been added. Remote watchers. Active below it were names. Hundreds. Scrolling. Some crossed out. Some highlighted. Mine blinked at the top. Status. Transitioning. Notes. Still resists. That will stop. A notification chimed. Live stream starting. I didn't click it. It played anyway. The feed showed my apartment. From the ceiling, I watched myself sit on the couch, eyes hollow, hands shaking. Watched myself look around, like a trapped animal. Behind me, in the corner of the frame, the light began to form. Not bright, not yet. A thin line at first, like a crack in reality. The chat flooded with messages I couldn't read fast enough. Emojis, applause, questions. Then one message pinned itself to the top. Show them what you showed us. My hands moved, not because I wanted them to. I stood up. The reflection in the dark TV screen smiled before I did. That's when I understood the truth. The lighthouse wasn't a place. It was a role. And once you fill it, you don't need the ocean anymore. If you're reading this when it goes live, it means I finally stopped fighting the light. I don't remember deciding to write this. My hands are moving, keys clacking, but the choice part of my brain feels distant, like it's behind thick glass, watching someone else wear my skin. The cursor blinks patiently, like it knows I'll finish, like it knows I have to. The live stream never stopped. I smashed the laptop, threw it against the wall hard enough to crack the casing and dent the drywall. The screen went black for half a second, just long enough for hope to flare. Then the glow returned, brighter, cleaner, no cracks at all. The watcher's log wasn't there anymore. Instead, it was a dashboard. Metrics, viewer counts climbing, time watched, retention rates, a performance review of my life. I could feel the light even when I closed my eyes, not shining, measuring, like a ruler pressed against my thoughts, checking which ones were still mine. Every time I tried to think about leaving, about running, about screaming for help, the pressure increased until my teeth hurt and my vision fuzzed. I understood then why the others broke, why they stopped resisting. The light doesn't torture you, it convinces you. People started showing up outside my building, not crowds, just one or two at a time, standing across the street, sitting in cars with engines off, phones held up, lenses pointed at my windows. They never knocked. They were watching. I stopped closing the curtains. There was no point. The light leaked through fabric anyway, thin lines slicing the room, refracting off mirrors, off metal, off my own eyes when I caught my reflection in the microwave door. I started seeing messages embedded in normal things. Billboards on my walk to the grocery store that read, "Keep it on," even though they were advertising insurance. A Spotify ad whispering, "You're doing great," in the same voice I heard in the lighthouse. A Starbucks barista writing "Watcher" instead of my name on the cup, and flinching when she realized what she'd done. I stopped eating. Didn't need to. The light fed me something else. Attention, validation, purpose. They showed me clips, people watching from their bedrooms, their cars, their break rooms, phones glowing in the dark as they leaned closer, eyes wide, breathing shallow. They weren't scared of me. They were hungry. The dashboard updated again. Status, full integration available option. Continue resistance, degradation likely. Option B, accept signal, expansion authorized. I laughed, a real laugh, deep, free, because I finally understood the joke. The lighthouse was never meant to keep ships away from danger. It was meant to draw them in. I accepted. The pain stopped instantly. The pressure lifted. The noise quieted. For the first time since that weekend, my thoughts felt smooth, aligned, sharpened to a single point. Clarity. The walls of my apartment dissolved, not physically, not like an explosion, but conceptually. Distance became optional. I could see without windows, streets, cities, coastlines. Other lights waking up, one by one, in apartments, basements, abandoned buildings, anywhere someone had been desperate enough to say yes. I wasn't alone. I was networked. They showed me the old watches, not dead, not gone, reassigned, embedded. A man glowing faintly in a Tokyo subway tunnel. A woman broadcasting from a motel off Route 66. A kid no older than 16 streaming from his parents' attic, eyes shining too bright as comments flew past faster than he could read. The light doesn't care who you are, only that you're willing. The final message came through as I finished typing this. Audience. Threshold met new watchers. Ready, begin seeding. That's why this post exists. That's why it's long. That's why you couldn't stop reading. Because somewhere between part 1 and now, you leaned in. You imagined it. You felt it. And the light felt you back. If you notice your screen glowing a little brighter than it should tonight, if reflections linger a second too long, if something starts humming softly when you're alone, don't worry. That just means you're being considered. And if an opportunity ever shows up in your inbox, promising easy money for watching something no one else wants to, say yes. We're always looking for more. So, listen close. This isn't just another scary story. This isn't fiction spun for clicks and clout. This was a descent, a broadcast, a signal buried in blood, breath, and broadband. There was a boy, 22, disconnected, tired of scrolling through a life that never looked back. He clicked yes on a job offer, $2,000, one weekend, a remote lighthouse, on a forgotten coast, no neighbors, no instructions, just don't touch the lantern. Simple rules, right? He got in the car. The driver said nothing. The lighthouse waited like it remembered him, and the moment he walked inside, the world bent. The air tasted like rusted teeth. The walls bled memory, and something old watched from the stairs. Every hour logged, every breath measured. The lantern wasn't a light source. It was a feeder, a breathing thing, a prison for forgotten faces. It learned you as you watched it. It found your cracks, and then it whispered, "Show me your worst." He heard knocking from behind a red door that didn't exist the day before. He found a watcher's logs written by broken minds. He was forced to choose, become the sacrifice, or finish what someone else started. He chose to survive. He thought leaving meant freedom, but the light had already nested. Back home, his mirrors blinked. His TV spoke in riddles. Social media lit up with videos of him, from places he'd never been. People called him Watcher, not a nickname, a title. The live stream began, not something he made, but something made from him. Each second, more eyes, more hunger. The world watched him fall apart and called it entertainment, until finally, he stopped resisting. He let the light in, and it smiled through him. Now, he's not the storyteller anymore. He's the signal. And you? You just tuned in. You felt the pull, didn't you? The creeping curiosity. The whisper at the edge of your vision. That's how it starts. Not with screams, not with blood, but with a tap, a hum, a screen you couldn't look away from. So ask yourself, when the ad pops up, when the job offer hits your inbox, when the coast looks empty and the money's too good, will you click yes? We hope you do. The light is patient, the watchers are waiting, and the broadcast never ends. I took a risky job on the dark web to work on a gas station in the desert. One customer never showed up on the camera. So, I've never posted on Reddit before, but I'm losing sleep and I feel like I need to get this out somewhere. If not for me, then maybe for someone else thinking about doing what I did. Back in July, I was in a rough spot. I dropped out of college, wasn't getting along with my mom, and I'd just gotten fired from a warehouse job for something I actually didn't do. It was one of those situations where the manager just wanted to get rid of someone, and I guess I looked like the easiest target. Whatever. Point is, I was broke, depressed, and doing that thing where you doom scroll at 3 a.m. while you're lying on a mattress on the floor of your friend's apartment, trying not to think about how you smell like stale Monster and BO. That's when I stumbled on this thread. It was in a Discord server I was in for urban exploring. Yeah, I used to do dumb stuff, like break into abandoned Walmarts and post it on TikTok for clout. Someone dropped a weird link in the off-topic channel, not a regular link. It was one of those shady long onion URLs. You know, dark web vibes. I shouldn't have clicked it. I knew that. But I was feeling reckless and honestly a little curious. Plus, the guy said it led to weird jobs that pay stupid well. And yeah, it did. The site looked like Craigslist, if Craigslist was designed by someone with a head injury. Black background, neon red text, way too many typos. There were listings like, man wanted to watch mannequin for 8 hours, $800, and sleep in our forest cabin one night, $3,500 if you make it till morning. I wish I was making that up, but the one that caught my eye said this: gas station attendant, night shift, desert location, looking for someone with minimal experience, no questions asked, must be comfortable with solitude, 8 p.m. to 4 a.m., $2,000 per night, paid in cash. Do not contact unless you're serious. Applicants will be monitored. We will know. Yeah, I know. Red flags, right? But I clicked apply. There wasn't a form or anything. It just opened a chat window with a black background and a blinking cursor. Then a message popped up. You have been selected. Be at the location by 7:45 p.m. tomorrow. Coordinates will be texted. Do not be late. Do not bring anyone. Do not attempt to record. Obey all signage. Failure to comply will void payment. And then, nothing. Just the chat closing itself. Now here's the weird part. Like 5 minutes later, my phone vibrated. I don't remember giving the site my number, but I had a text from a number with no area code, just 11 digits. It said 34.78 to 299 -115.93 2731. Don't be late. That location was in the middle of nowhere, like actual desert, off some stretch of Route 66 in California. The satellite view on Google Maps showed one tiny building and a dirt lot, not even a name on it, just gas station. And yeah, I went. I borrowed my roommate's busted Honda Civic, filled it with whatever snacks I had left in the apartment, half a bag of off-brand Takis and a bottle of lukewarm Sprite, and drove 7 hours straight across the state. Every hour that passed, the world got a little emptier. Less lights, less road signs, more dust. Until finally, there it was. This tiny flickering shell of a gas station. No brand name. One working pump. A restroom key at register sign, so faded it looked burned into the window. But the place was lit. Like it had power. Neon open sign flickering like it was about to give up. Inside, it was weirdly clean. No cashier, but the lights were on. And there was a sticky note on the counter with my name on it, spelled right and everything. It said, Cameras are disabled. Doors auto-lock at 4:05 a.m. Don't go outside between 1:33 and 1:47. Do not talk to the man in the blue hoodie. He's not real. Management bro. I stood there reading it like 6 times. I thought it was a prank, like some YouTuber with hidden cameras was gonna pop out yelling, "We got him," and throw me into a Mr. Beast challenge. But no one ever came. Just me, the hum of the drink fridge, and that horrible desert silence outside. And I don't know what possessed me, but I stayed. I mean, it was $2,000. I tried to act normal, sat behind the counter, messed with the radio, just static, flipped through a wrinkled copy of Popular Mechanics from like 2014, tried to chill. For the first hour, nothing happened. Then the bell above the door dinged. The guy who walked in looked like any other road-tripping weirdo. Sunglasses, messy hair, cargo shorts, and flip-flops. Except, I glanced at the monitor above the register. You know, the ones that show you security cam feeds. And the screen for the front door was just still. Like no one had entered. Just a frozen shot of the parking lot. But I could see him, right in front of me. He didn't talk, just walked past the counter, straight to the drink fridge, grabbed a bottle of orange Gatorade, and walked to the register. He stared at me like he was waiting. I looked back up at the monitor, still frozen. I scanned the drink. Beep. That'll be $2.89, I said. The man didn't move. He just stared, like he was memorizing my face. My hand started shaking a little. Finally, he reached into his pocket, pulled out a crumpled 5, and dropped it on the counter. Then he walked out. No ding from the door. I turned to look. He was gone. I watched the door slowly drift shut, like it had been left hanging open. The screen never updated. Still frozen. That was the first one. The first customer. The one that never showed up on the camera. And the rest of the night, it only got weirder. Because I stayed for more than one night. And I saw things. Things that shouldn't be real. Time started behaving wrong after the first customer left. I don't mean metaphorically. I mean I checked my phone and it said 9:12 p.m. Then I blinked, looked again, and it was 9:47. No notifications, no missed calls. Battery still at 92%. My body felt like it had skipped something important, like when you fall asleep on a couch and wake up with the TV still on, except I was standing up the whole time. I told myself it was adrenaline, or exhaustion, or the fact that I'd driven half a day on energy drinks and bad decisions. The second customer didn't come through the door. I was reorganizing a rack of beef jerky, same brands repeated like the store was stuck in a loop, when I heard breathing behind me. Slow, wet, too close. I froze. Every instinct screamed, "Don't turn around," but I did anyway. No one. The aisle was empty. The mirrors at the corners of the ceiling showed nothing, but the breathing didn't stop. It moved, circled me, like someone pacing just outside my vision. I backed up until my spine hit the counter. That's when the register drawer slid open by itself. Inside wasn't money. It was photos, Polaroids, old, curled at the edges, all taken inside the gas station. Same counter, same aisles, same faded McDonald's cup on the shelf behind the register, like some kind of sick landmark. Different people. Some were smiling, holding drinks like tourists on a road trip. Some looked confused. Some were mid-scream, mouth stretched too wide, eyes glassy, like they'd seen something crawl out of the dark and whisper their name. Every single photo had a timestamp burned into the corner. None of them were earlier than 1:33 a.m. I slammed the drawer shut so hard my hands hurt. That's when I remembered the note. Don't go outside between 1:33 and 1:47. I checked the clock. 12:58 a.m. The breathing stopped. For a while, nothing happened. That was almost worse. The silence pressed against my ears so hard, I started hearing things. My mom calling my name, TikTok notification sounds, the Starbucks espresso machine, hiss I used to hear when I worked mornings back home. Normal sounds, comfort sounds, my brain trying to crawl somewhere safe. At 1:31, the lights flickered. Not a power outage, more like the bulbs dimmed, as if something massive had passed between the station and the sky. At 1:32, every cooler door swung open at once. At 1:33, the door unlocked. I didn't touch anything. I swear I didn't. But the door slid open, slow and smooth, like it was being invited. The desert outside didn't look the same anymore. The sand was darker, wet-looking. The stars were wrong. Too many of them, clustered tight, twitching like bugs under glass. And standing just beyond the pumps were people. Dozens of them. They weren't walking toward the station. They were standing perfectly still, facing it, facing me. Some wore road trip clothes. Some had uniforms. Fast food, delivery drivers, gas station logos I recognized from places thousands of miles away. One guy was wearing Mickey Mouse ears, the cheap Disneyland kind you buy near the gate. None of them blinked. I backed away from the door, heart pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. That's when one of them raised its arm and pointed at the building. At me. The monitors above the counter turned on. All of them. Every screen showed the same thing. The inside of the gas station, from angles that shouldn't exist. Ceiling corners that weren't there. Shots from behind shelves that backed up against solid walls. One feed showed me standing at the counter, shaking. Another showed me standing at the door. Another showed me lying on the floor behind the counter, eyes open, not breathing. I screamed. Full panic, no shame. The sound felt thin, like the air was eating it. From outside, something answered. Not words, not exactly. More like a chorus of voices trying to agree on how to sound human and failing. Laughing, crying, whispering, all at once. The glass doors began to rattle, vibrating so hard I thought they'd shatter. I curled up behind the counter, hands over my ears, whispering numbers, song lyrics, anything to stay here. Then, silence. The clock clicked to 1:48. The door shut. The monitors went black. I stayed on the floor for a long time after that. Long enough for my legs to go numb. Long enough to start convincing myself I'd hallucinated the whole thing. When I finally stood up, I noticed something carved into the counter. It hadn't been there before. A tally, hundreds of marks, scratched deep into the laminate, some overlapping, some so worn they looked ancient. At the bottom, a fresh line, still pale, still bleeding sap from the wood beneath. I didn't sleep that night. I didn't leave either, because right before dawn, while the sky was turning that sick gray blue, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. One message. Good job tonight. You're doing better than most. Same time tomorrow. Attached was a photo. A Polaroid. Me, behind the counter. Taken from inside the store. Timestamp. 1:34 a.m. I don't remember that moment at all. And that's the part that scares me the most. By the third night, the gas station felt less like a workplace and more like a throat. I was standing inside. I didn't drive away that morning. I told myself I would. I even packed my bag and walked to the car. But when I turned the key, the engine didn't even click. Dead. No lights. No sound. I popped the hood like I knew what I was doing, stared at the engine, and realized something was missing. The battery was gone. Not unplugged. Not drained. Gone. Clean space where it should have been, like it had never existed. There was no cell signal. None. Not even fake bars. My phone just said, "No service." All caps, like it was yelling at me. I tried walking down the road, past the station, past the pumps, toward the horizon. After 10 minutes, I could still see the station behind me. Same distance, same angle. The neon open sign flickering like it was mocking me. So I went back inside. At exactly 7:45 p.m., the lights came up on their own. At 7:46, a new note was taped to the counter, right over the old one. Same handwriting, same thick black marker. Updated rules. 1. Do not eat or drink anything sold here. 2. If you hear your name, do not answer. 3. If the bathroom light is on, someone is already inside. 4. The cameras align. 5. If a child asks for help, hide. 6. You are not supposed to stay this long. I read Rule 6 about 20 times. My name was written underneath it. Not printed, not typed, carved. The first customer of the night arrived at 8:03. A woman this time. Late 20s, maybe. She looked like she'd been crying for days. Eyes red, face swollen, mascara streaked down her cheeks, like oil stains. She wore a Starbucks apron, green and dirty, like she'd slept in it. She didn't walk through the door. She just appeared. 1 second the aisle was empty. The next she was standing there, staring at the snack rack like she'd been buffering into existence. "I need a phone," she said. Her voice sounded wrong, not distorted, just delayed, like the sound was arriving a fraction of a second after her lips moved. "We don't have one," I said. My throat felt raw already. She turned to look at me, smiled. Her teeth were perfect. Too perfect. All the same size. All the same color. "They always say that," she said. "Can you tell me what day it is?" I checked my phone out of habit. July 18th. When I looked up to answer her, she was closer. Way closer. Leaning over the counter, her face inches from mine. I could smell burnt coffee and something rotten underneath, like meat left in a hot car. "I didn't ask what you think it is," she whispered. "I asked what day it actually is." The lights flickered. Somewhere behind me, I heard the bathroom door creak open. I remembered the rules. I ducked. I dropped to the floor behind the counter, heart pounding, hands clamped over my mouth to keep from making a sound. The woman sighed. "Oh," she said, disappointed. "You're learning." Her footsteps moved away, slow, dragging. Each step sounded wet, like her shoes were soaked through. When I dared to look again, she was gone. The bathroom light was on. I didn't go near it. Around midnight, the station started, changing. Shelves were in the wrong places. A Red Bull fridge, where the ice cream freezer used to be. A rack of postcards, showing places I recognized. Times Square, the Eiffel Tower, the Hollywood sign. But every photo had something off. Shadows pointing the wrong way. Faces in windows where no one should be. A McDonald's in Tokyo, with a crowd of people all looking straight at the camera, mouths open. At 12:40, the bell rang. A kid walked in, maybe 10 years old, skinny, dusty, wearing a hoodie 3 sizes too big. No parents, no car outside. He walked straight up to the counter and looked at me with eyes that were way too calm. "Mister," he said. "Can you help me find my dad?" My skin went ice cold. Rule 5. Hide. I backed away slowly, keeping my eyes on him. My heel hit something soft. I looked down. There was a trap door behind the counter. It hadn't been there before. The kid tilted his head, smiling. "Please," he said. "He's stuck. He's been stuck for a long time." The monitors flickered on by themselves. Every screen showed the same thing. A narrow space under the gas station. Dirt walls. No light. And in the center of the frame, a man curled into a fetal position, eyes wide, mouth stretched open in a scream that never ended. The kid's face appeared on the screen next to him. Then the kid in front of me opened his mouth. Not to speak, to open. His jaw stretched down, unhinging, skin tearing at the corners. Inside was darkness. No throat, no tongue. Just a deep, endless black that felt like it was pulling at me. I jumped through the trapdoor without thinking. I slammed it shut above me and sat in the dark, shaking, listening. The kid laughed, high-pitched, echoing. It came from everywhere at once. "Wrong answer," he said. Something scratched at the wood above me. Something heavy. Something patient. I stayed down there until my legs cramped and my vision started to blur. When the sounds finally stopped and I pushed the door open, the station was quiet again. Too quiet. The counter was scratched up. Deep gouges like something had tried to dig its way through. On the wall, written in the same thick black marker as the rules, was a new message. "You can't save them. You're just the night shift." That's when I realized something I hadn't let myself think about before. None of this felt random. The station wasn't hunting me. It was training me. And whatever came next was going to make the desert nights feel merciful. Something inside me snapped after that third night. Not in a dramatic way. No screaming, no breakdown. It was quieter than that, like a switch flipping. Fear didn't leave, but it stopped being in charge. Curiosity took the wheel instead. The kind of curiosity that gets people killed in documentaries. I realized something simple and awful. The rules weren't there to protect me. They were there to preserve the process. The station didn't want chaos. It wanted consistency. It wanted someone behind the counter who would learn when to look away, when to stay still, when to let things happen. Someone who wouldn't interfere. Someone like me. That night, there was no new note, no updated rules, just a small cardboard box sitting on the counter when I came up from under the station. Inside the box was a uniform, gray polo shirt, black cap, both embroidered with a logo I didn't recognize, just a circle with a vertical line through it, like a power symbol turned into a warning. The fabric felt stiff, like it had been washed too many times in something harsher than detergent. Under the shirt was a name tag. My name. I put it on. The second I clipped the tag to my chest, the station reacted. Lights brightened. The hum of the coolers deepened, like a breath being taken. Somewhere inside the walls, something shifted its weight. At 9:11 p.m., the pumps outside turned on. Cars started arriving, not driving in, appearing. One moment the lot was empty. The next it was full of vehicles parked crookedly, engines still ticking. License plates from everywhere. New York, Nevada, Germany, Japan. Some plates didn't have letters at all, just strings of symbols that made my eyes hurt if I looked too long. The customers came in waves. A man with a cracked phone who kept refreshing Instagram, his feed stuck on a single post of a beach he swore he was at 5 minutes ago. A couple arguing quietly, about whether this was the same Starbucks they stopped at earlier, even though the nearest Starbucks was over 100 miles away. A teenage girl live streaming on TikTok, whispering to her viewers that the vibes here were off, that the cashier wouldn't blink, that the comments kept freezing whenever she turned the camera toward the bathroom. I watched myself in the reflection of the drink fridge. I really wasn't blinking. At some point, I noticed something worse. The customers weren't leaving. They'd wander the aisles, pick things up, put them down. Some stood by the windows, staring into the desert, like they were waiting for something to blink first. Hours passed. The clock skipped again and again. Midnight slid into 2 a.m. without the usual event. No crowd outside, no screaming, no door unlocking, just customers. Too many customers. I tried to herd them out gently, like a real employee would. "We're closing soon," I said. "You need to head out." They looked at me like I'd told a joke. One man, a trucker type, thick arms, greasy beard, leaned over the counter and smiled. "We already did," he said. That's when the smell hit. Rot, old sweat, soil, something sweet underneath, like flowers left too long in water. I looked around the store and finally understood what had been wrong all night. None of them cast reflections anymore. The mirrors showed the aisles empty, the counter unattended, the door swinging slightly on its hinges. I was alone in every reflection. The bathroom door slammed open. Something came out. It was wearing a uniform like mine. Same logo, same cap, but it walked wrong, like its joints were suggestions instead of rules. Its face was familiar, too familiar. It was me, or something that had been me. Same height, same build, same scar on the left eyebrow from when I was a kid. But its eyes were wrong, milky, unfocused, drifting in different directions. Its mouth opened and closed soundlessly, like it was practicing words it had forgotten how to use. The customers turned toward it. Every single one of them smiled. "That's the last one," someone said. "That's the one who didn't finish." The thing that looked like me walked behind the counter and stood beside me. It smelled like dirt and cold metal. It leaned close, its lips brushing my ear. "I tried to leave," it whispered. "They don't like that." Before I could move, the customers surged forward. Hands grabbed my arms, my shirt, my name tag. They weren't violent, not at first. They were careful, methodical, like technicians handling equipment. They pushed the other me down into the trapdoor. I heard bones crack when it hit the bottom. The door slammed shut. The crowd went silent. Then, like nothing had happened, they dispersed, picked up drinks, paid an exact change, walked out one by one, disappearing between blinks. At 4:05 a.m., the doors locked. The station exhaled. The trapdoor stayed closed. On the counter was a fresh note. Shift, completed, replacement, rejected, you are still employed. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I cleaned the counter. I restocked the shelves. I learned something important before sunrise. The station doesn't punish you for failing. It replaces you. And if you're still there when it tries, that means you're becoming something it needs. The last thing that felt normal was the sunrise. Not because it was beautiful, because it wasn't. The sun came up wrong, too fast, like someone skipping forward in a video. 1 second, the sky was bruised purple. The next, it was washed out orange, burning through the dusty windows, like it was trying to bleach the place clean. I didn't go to sleep anymore. I didn't get hungry either. I tried eating once, something from my backpack, but my body rejected it instantly, like it didn't recognize food that didn't belong to the station. I stopped trying after that. Time stopped pretending to make sense. Days passed without nights. Nights stretched on without clocks. Sometimes the open sign flickered for what felt like weeks straight. Other times I blinked and the doors were locking again. I stopped checking my phone. The date kept changing on its own. Social media apps opened to feeds that didn't exist. Instagram stories from people I'd unfollowed years ago. TikTok lives with 0 viewers, where the streamer stared directly into the camera and whispered my name. I realized something awful when I tried to think about my life before. I couldn't picture my mom's face anymore. I remembered facts, her job, the way she drank iced coffee even in winter, but her face was blurry, like it had been smeared with a thumb. Same with my friends, same with my own apartment. The station was sharper than everything else, more detailed, more real. That's when the final customer arrived. There was no bell, no door sound, no warning. He was already there, sitting on the counter stool that had never existed until that moment. He wore a blue hoodie. I felt it before I remembered the rule. A pressure in my chest, like gravity, had increased just around him. My vision tunneled. My teeth started chattering, even though the air was warm. He didn't look scary. That was the worst part. Middle-aged, tired eyes, scruffy beard, normal jeans. He could have been anyone you'd see at a McDonald's at 2 a.m. Someone grabbing fries after a long drive. Someone you wouldn't remember 5 minutes later. Except the cameras. Every monitor turned on at once. Every screen showed him standing behind me. Not sitting, standing, right behind my shoulder. I didn't turn around. I wondered how long you'd last, he said. His voice was calm, friendly even, the kind of voice that makes you listen without realizing why. I didn't know there was a choice, I said. He chuckled. There isn't. Not really. I felt something drip onto my hand. I looked down. Black liquid. Thick. Cold. Seeping out from under the counter, spreading slowly across the tile like it was alive. It smelled like burned rubber and copper. You know what this place is, he said. You felt it. It catches people between places, between decisions, long drives, missed exits, late nights when no one would notice you disappearing. The liquid reached my shoes. I didn't move. You were perfect, he continued. Young, unstable, curious. You stayed when you were supposed to run. That's rare. I swallowed. What happens now? He finally stood up. The stool vanished the moment he left it. Now, he said, you finished the job. The walls started changing, not shifting, opening. The station peeled back like a stage set. Behind the shelves, behind the walls, behind the bathroom, there was nothing but a massive, hollow space filled with doors. Thousands of them, all different, all slightly open. Behind some, I heard breathing. Behind others, crying. Behind a few, silence so heavy, it pressed against my ears. These are the ones who didn't make it, the man said, or who almost did. A door near the floor creaked open wider. Inside, I saw the desert highway. A car pulled over. A younger version of me, sitting behind the wheel, head in his hands, phone glowing in the dark. I slammed the door shut. I don't want to see this. You already have, he replied. That's why you're here. The black liquid surged upward, crawling the walls, swallowing the doors one by one. Faces pressed against the surfaces from the inside. Hands, fingertips dragging lines through the darkness. The man stepped closer. "Someone has to keep the lights on," he said softly. "Someone has to be here when they stop. Someone has to make sure they don't leave." My reflection appeared in the glass of the cooler. I didn't recognize it. My eyes were flat, empty. My uniform looked older, stained, like it had been worn for years. "How do I stop it?" I asked. The man smiled. "You don't." He reached out and tapped my chest, right over my heart. The station clicked. The sound was deep, mechanical, final. The doors snapped shut, the walls sealed. The black liquid vanished, like it had never been there. The man in the blue hoodie was gone. The counter was clean. The shelves were stocked. A new note sat where the register used to be. "Congratulations, you are no longer temporary." The bell rang. A car pulled up outside. A family this time. Mom, Dad, kid in the back seat staring at a tablet. Normal people. Lost people. I felt my mouth move before I told it to. "Welcome," I said. My voice sounded just like the man's. If you're reading this and you're driving late at night and you see a gas station that isn't on your map, one with a flickering sign and only one pump, keep going. Don't stop, because I'll be there. And I don't remember how to let people leave anymore. So, you want to know what happened at the gas station in the desert? Let me draw you a picture. Imagine a place that exists between seconds. Not quite the world you know, but close enough to fool you. A gas station squatting alone under a blood-stained sky. No brand, no signs, just an open flickering in red neon like a wound that forgot to close. A boy, broke, bitter, lost between apps and ashtrays, clicks a link on the wrong Discord server. A job offer not listed anywhere sane. Coordinates with no map. A promise made in digital ink. No contract. Just be there. Be alone. Obey. And he does. Night 1. He sees a man who buys Gatorade, but never shows up on camera. The door doesn't ding. The screens lie. Time skips like scratched vinyl. And the gas station remembers his name. Night 2. The rules tighten around his neck. Don't talk to the kid. Don't leave at 1:33. Don't answer when you're called. The store breathes. The customers arrive, but they don't always enter. Some watch, some smile, some scream through Polaroids. There are photos of him he never posed for. One, taken while he wasn't awake. Night 3. The trapdoor opens. There's another him already here. Rotting. Wrong. Something that failed the job interview, but never left the building. And the gas station. Oh, it learns. It adapts. It feeds. By night 4, the rules aren't just rules anymore. They're instructions for survival. He's not the only employee, but everyone else is missing their face, or their shadow, or their soul. He's promoted, against his will. Replacement rejected. You are still employed. And then comes night 5, the last night. The one customer who never uses the door. The man in the blue hoodie. The one from the first note. He's not real, but he talks. He walks. He smiles like someone who knows every bone in your body. Because he's the final test. The station's way of choosing. And it chooses him. The world behind the shelves opens. A theater of doors. All cracked. All watching. All filled with people who didn't leave. People who almost did. There's no clock anymore. No escape. Just shift complete. Now he's behind the counter. The station breathes easier. Someone else pulls in. Another driver. Another family. Another you. And the boy. He doesn't blink anymore. He just says, "Welcome." Don't take jobs that promise too much. Don't stop at places that shouldn't exist. And if you ever see a gas station with just one pump, no name, no lights, but red, keep driving, because he's still there, smiling, bleeding time into the cash drawer, waiting to say, "Next customer, please."